Hello and welcome back. I thought today I'd look at the sort of two main options you've got if you want to play keyboards live. We were looking at this Nord and this master keyboard that's here before, and I figured it might be useful to sort of move along a little bit and let you see some of the sort of options that you've got and maybe some of the downfalls as well, despite what you might read on the internet. So sitting behind me here is that Nord, and sitting on top of it a MacBook. The MacBook is running Mainstage. Mainstage is just sort of, well, I suppose it's a bit like Logic in a way. It lets you download a load of sounds from Apple, and you can also install other sounds that come off your own sample packages. And the idea basically is that you can actually, if you want to, produce like a set list. And you can itemize each individual song, and each song can have its own patch. The idea with Mainstage is that it's going to run samples, synths, anything else that you've got on your system, and you can put them into a set list, and it will actually play through them sort of in the order of your show. So all the patches are taken care of, you just load the next one in. Now, the idea being, I suppose, like at the moment this one is making a string sound. So, okay, that song, strings. And I guess there's nothing to stop us playing a melody. So, we can use another keyboard like the Nord. The Nord's got some nice sounds in. I mean, the stock ones that I'm using on here, we've got an ordinary piano, electric piano, sort of more like sort of clavy-ish, gets harder. We're back to the organs. Some strings that I don't like particularly. So it'll do strings. Just not my favourites. It's got the stuff that you could probably get through a gig on, no bother at all. You just got to program it up and then just remember that number 9 is whatever I've just set it to be number 9. And it even has a sort of limited preset function in it as well, so that you can actually sort of hone it down a bit more. But if you're going to do a sort of, sort of covers songs, you're going to be having a huge number of songs. So something like Mainstage works pretty well. So in the Mainstage window, we can go through the presets in the same way. So we've got bright sounds. One that I quite like is a piano sound by a company from Holland called Pianotech. And it's a sort of mathematically created piano sound. And I rather like that. So one of my favourite sort of sounds. I like their pianos. I think it's just really nice. So, Pianotech. I've got a piano from that. Some of them are a bit weirder. But you get the idea. Any sound that you've got in your computer, probably from when you're using it as a DAW, is pretty valid. There's a couple of restrictions. They've got to be saved as AU files on your machine, so that just looking at this one, I don't have access to all of my Spitfire samples because I didn't save them as AUs. I mean, I guess I could just re-download the libraries in the other format and then it would be perfectly happy. But because I run Cubase, most of the stuff on there is in the format that Cubase understands. A few have accidentally installed in both, which is probably a bit of a waste of memory space, but they do seem to work. So play it on an ordinary synth or play it on a mute master keyboard running onto Mainstage. What's the best? The Nord, or in all honesty all the other keyboards that I've got, you press the button, they work. Mainstage runs on a computer, and while Mac computers are wonderful, they don't always work. One of the common things that annoys me when I'm doing pantomimes is that at the start of the show, our deputy stage manager with a headset says, "Oh, we've got clearance, we're ready to go." And the MD's voice suddenly pops up and says, "Yeah, just give me a second, I've got to reboot the computer." That's sadly not uncommon. I don't know whether it's because they go to sleep or whatever it is, but if you decide to run on a computer of any kind, you need to be aware that there are going to be some circumstances when you go to press the button and no sound comes out. And it's annoying. It's actually quite dodgy if you haven't noticed the thing is not working and you actually go to play the first notes of a track and nothing comes out. It's a bit of a shock. So I think most MDs have sort of fallen into the habit of, just turn it right down, give it a prod, see if noise comes out before you start the show. And very often it's with sort of 30 seconds to go that you discover the computer's not working and you need to switch it off and switch it on again, which, it always cures the problem, but it is a real pain in the bum. So advantages of using something like Mainstage. Well, almost every sound that you use in your studio can be used live. I have tried to use Cubase live and do similar things, but it's just not reliable enough and it's too easy to mess things up and discover that the sound you're about to play, which you assume is an electric piano, in actual fact is something far worse, and you don't actually notice that you've just hit the wrong button or highlighted the wrong track, all those sort of things. Mainstage, because it's based around a sort of list, gives you the ability to just program in every sound that you're going to need on every song and just go through them one by one. And if you need to do one out of sequence, it's an easy job just to go back in and recall that patch. So in a way, that's going to give you far more flexibility, but at the expense of reliability. And that's why a lot of people just use a keyboard that's got programmable sounds. The sounds in the Nord are great, but they are not the same as using a Spitfire sample library, which has got so much in it, or the nice ones from Crow Hill, or the hundreds of thousands that you can now get from people like Native Instruments. So if you want something special, something really to suit the song, the quality of the sound you're going to get from a computer-based product are better, without doubt. Things like the Nord, which do let you download sounds, they still don't let you have exactly the same thing. You can't get your favourite Spitfire string library on the Nord. It's just not possible. Now live, you might argue that doesn't really matter. And to a degree, I suppose that's true. If it's going through a PA rather than a quality studio system, well, those little nuances might not be there, but it's the thing for you to decide. Live, I'd love to say I always use computer-based products and get the very best sounds, but the reality is no, and that's why I would probably take synths, because you know that you're going to plug them in and it works, and you're not going to be faffing about 30 seconds before showtime trying to reboot your computer system and just hope that it's going to fire up with the sounds that you want. I suppose a half and half would do, wouldn't it? So a system like this one here with Mainstage running off that bottom computer and your electric pianos and the other stuff that you know are going to work running off the Nord. Best of both worlds? Yeah, probably. But that's how the system seems to be working nowadays. I think to rely totally on computers is too risky for me, but it's nice to have perhaps a bit of a balance and have decent sounds from a keyboard and better ones from a computer system. And if the computer dies, you've still got the ones in your synth. That's today's video. Tell me if you agree or disagree. I don't mind. Just yell at me and tell me I'm completely wrong. It's perfectly okay. Anyway, see you on the next video. Look after yourselves. Take care.